Al Jazeera Podcasts.
Today, the cross-border fighting between Israel and Hezbollah intensifies.
Both sides risking the kind of escalation that could set off a region-wide war.
United Nations officials based in Lebanon warned that a very real threat of miscalculation could lead to a wider war. Are we closer now than ever? I'm Natasha Del Toro, and this is The Take.
I'm Ali Hashem. I'm Al Jazeera's correspondent. Currently, I'm in South Lebanon, the city of Tyre.
Oh, so you're that close to where the conflict is?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. We're in the city of Tyre, which is like just 20 kilometers from the border.
Oh, my goodness. Maybe you could tell us, what's the latest on the situation between Israel and Hezbollah?
Well, Natasha, over the past few weeks, I can say especially, mainly after the Iranian retaliation to Israel's attack on the consulate in Damascus, there's been a hype in Hezbollah's operations and attacks on Israel. And at the same time, Israel has been also just hitting in several areas in Lebanon, and sometimes towards the depth of like 100, 130 kilometers. And the Beqaa, for example, Hermel, mainly on daily basis in the Lebanese villages and towns. Even here in Tyre, where I am, there was an assassination. An Israeli drone killed one of the Hezbollah commanders here in the city. So what we can say is that, yeah, it's been escalating. However, it's still within the military targets. And this is what makes, someone like me think that it's still contained.
Well, I really hope that that's true, but there has been this recent escalation in hostilities that has everybody on edge. Ali, what has triggered the recent escalation?
Well, the fact that the Hezbollah and Israel has been taking this confrontation from one level to another. Hezbollah has been using new weapons. Israel has been targeting new places. More assassinations executed by Israel. More responses, more retaliations by Hezbollah. So at the end, we are seeing this situation whereas both sides see it necessary to take the confrontation to another level. However, this confrontation, as I've been saying, is still contained within military targets. Sometimes there are civilian casualties, but it's clear that Israel is hitting mainly areas that are within the rules of engagement, whereas Hezbollah is also targeting military bases and in some occasions also maybe some residential areas where military personnel are present. However, what we are seeing, for example, taking another level is the use of weapons, especially from Hezbollah's side. We saw an attack, a very complicated attack on an Israeli military base on the border. But this attack was documented through the lens of a Hezbollah drone, which is something new. In the past few months, we've been seeing Hezbollah using the Almas missile, which is a kind of a guided missile with a camera on its top. And over here, we're feeling like Hezbollah is trying to document the war on one side, to escalate on the other side, and to establish its own narrative in this war. So Hezbollah is trying to contain it within these rules of engagement. For example, even when Israel is hitting deep into Lebanon, Hezbollah is expanding the front horizontally and not vertically.
That's very interesting. Maybe we could back up just a little bit. Could you tell me, maybe describe for me a little bit about this area of Lebanon? I know it's a very agricultural region, and people have lived through these kinds of escalations before. In 2006, there was a full-fledged war. So how are people there dealing with what's happening now?
Well, Natasha, let me tell you a story from my own family. For example, today we came from Doha for our vacation to Beirut, to Lebanon. So in general, every year when we come to Lebanon, we go to the south because my family's house is in Naqoura, which is just on the border, directly on the border. And it's actually where I report from when I am reporting for Al Jazeera from South Lebanon. So at this time, we went to Beirut, and actually my children were kind of reluctant to come to the south. Though I was telling them, I mean, in the cities, there is nothing. If we go to the border, yes, there's going to be danger. But when we are in the city, in Tyre, for example, it's less dangerous. Of course, we might hear voices of explosions, we might see drones, we might see warplanes, but still, we are relatively safe. So the idea is that it's not like before. Yes, people in the south, especially people in the border towns, used to live there. But now they're in Beirut or in Tyre. It's been like 8 months, 9 months, whereas people are not in their homes.
They left. They actually fled.
Of course. Yes, they left. Because it's not possible for them to stay there, especially with the situation escalating day after another. And for example, most of the towns, especially, I mean, we've tried to report this on Al Jazeera in the past few months. I've been here, in and out all the time, going from one village to another. And every time there is more destruction. So, yeah, people can't really continue their lives in these towns anymore.
More after the break. So, Ali, you mentioned the Hezbollah's weapons, what they're using now that's new, but also local and human rights groups have documented the use of white phosphorus by Israel. So maybe you could remind us, what is white phosphorus and what effect is that having?
Well, from the first day of this confrontation, Israel has been using white phosphorus in hitting the agricultural lands. And actually, till yesterday, we had very big fires just, in every part of the south, because Israel has been using this kind of weapons. One of the reasons they think that the Hezbollah fighters would use the green cover for them to hide while they're launching rockets. But, I mean, they are burning everything.
Lebanon's Ministry of Public Health says at least 173 people have been injured in the white phosphorus attacks, which have also caused hundreds of forest fires in Lebanon.
Actually, we went through this as reporters in the first days when we used to move more. Now it's more like we are kind of confined in some areas and we can't move a lot. But at the beginning of the war, the first 2-3 weeks, we were just on the road all the time. And we saw on several occasions how the Israelis were using this kind of weapon. And of course, this weapon is burning the whole green cover for the south. This area has been, for the past 17 years, in a situation where there were no confrontations, there were no war, and people seized the opportunity to just, grow their lands with olive trees, with all kinds of trees. Now, at least for the last digits we heard from the Ministry of Agriculture here in Lebanon, tens of thousands of olive trees have been burnt, completely burnt. And it's not limited to these kind of trees. There are many other kind of trees that were burnt over the past few months, also livestock that were killed during the bombardment, because the Israeli bombardment is kind of indiscriminate, so everything is being bombarded.
And so, as you said, this is a very heavily agricultural region. From my understanding, white phosphorus can actually have a very damaging effect on the topsoil.
Well, it's not only about using white phosphorus, because in the past war, in 2006, Israel is using anything it can use just in order to win this war. But, the situation is, as I've been describing, it's facing a resistance here in the south. And this resistance is, of course, already acquires kind of sophisticated weapons. And this is why, till the moment, I can say that Israel is abiding by the rules of engagement, because if there was no strong power on the Lebanese side, I wouldn't think that the Israelis would really keep the rules of engagement in practice.
And, we know that in addition to these escalating tensions there between Israel and Hezbollah, there's also been regional tensions have also escalated. In response to an April 1st Israeli airstrike on an Iranian consulate building in Damascus, Syria, Iran took a major step by launching an aerial attack on Israel. So what are the broader regional implications of the escalating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran?
Well, for the moment, as far as this confrontation is contained the way it is within military targets, there's no all-out war, I think things will continue just like they are. At the moment, there is going to be maybe an Israeli campaign. And what I'm trying to say, an Israeli campaign would mean attacking Beirut, attacking civilian targets, just announcing a war on Lebanon. Then I think things might really change drastically. And because currently we're seeing, for example, Iraqi militia groups, Yemeni Ansarullah, the Houthis, trying to support the Hamas in its war against Israel. However, when it's going to be maybe Hezbollah and Hamas, then probably we're going to see maybe a wider escalation, more intensified fire coming. Who knows? I mean, a part of the analysis I have is that we might see the Mediterranean affected, just like what happened to the Red Sea, if it's going to be that wide. So actually, it's something that no one can really expect. It's like expecting the unexpected. And as someone who's been covering this region for the past 22 years, I've been covering maybe at least 10 conflicts between Lebanon, Palestine, Iraq, Syria, all these, in Libya, Somalia. What I'm seeing is really a nightmare coming to the region if there is going to be an all-out war on Lebanon.
Well, let's hope that that's not what happens. And, as we said, you said it's been almost 2 decades since this war ended between Israel and Hezbollah. And you're describing a situation where South Lebanon has been trying to revive itself. What does the future, I know it's hard to predict, but what does the future look like for South Lebanon? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, Natasha, just in case the war ends and everything gets back to normal, people will go back to their homes. And they are resilient to the extent that they will go the second day to their homes. And they will start growing their lands once again immediately. And we are in the second day of Eid. And we can see the villages, especially those border villages, packed with people, because there is less Israeli bombardment. So they seized the opportunity, went to their towns, went to their villages, tried to check on their homes, tried to go and visit the graveyards, their deads over there. And actually, the picture from there is astonishing. So I think the first day this war is going to end, things are going to go back to normal. Imagine in this South Lebanon that was occupied by Israel for more than 20 years, the day after the Israeli withdrawal on the 25th of May 2000, people started building their houses on the border fence. So I wouldn't really expect less than that. I know that people will get back there. But this is in case things are going back to normal. But in case of a war, things are going to be really, really bad. And that's why we hope that there'll be no war.
And that's The Take. This episode was produced by Khaled Soltan, David Enders, and Ashish Malhotra, with Chloe K. Lee, Amy Walters, and me, Natasha Del Toro, in from Malika Bilal. It was edited by Noor Waz. Our sound designer is Alex Roldan. Alexandra Locke is The Take's executive producer, and Ney Alvarez is Al Jazeera's head of audio. We'll be back tomorrow.